Hello and welcome to Me Party, the reviewing party podcast of one with me, Anna. And this is the first episode, so welcome. You might be listening on your own. Cool. I'm recording this on my own. I'm talking about something I've seen on my own. That's the whole premise, the whole idea. But if you're listening with someone else, cool. I don't mind. But yeah, welcome to my party. Very excited to introduce this podcast to the world. I don't know if you've listened to the trailer, but I go and see everything. Well, not everything, but I see a lot on my own. And by doing that, you obviously get to see it and it's really cool, but often there's then no one to talk to about it. So I'm like, who do I talk to? Like, I have to wait for a friend to see it or Google the reviews or tweet about it, whatever. But I was like, you know what? I'm just going to talk about it. And if anyone else wants to listen, they're very, very welcome. So here we go. Very exciting. If you know me or have listened to the trailer, you'll know that one of my favourite films of all time is the 2011 film The Muppets. I don't know what it is about that film, but there's just something in it that sparks pure joy in my whole soul. And in that, there is a song called Me Party, performed by Amy Adams and Miss Piggy. Perfection. And I was like, yeah, I feel inspired by that. And what a better way to kick off this podcast by having it inspired by one of my fave songs from one of my fave films, by talking about another one of my new favourite films. Oh my days. I am talking about Baz Luhrmann's Elvis. Oh, round of applause. I have seen this in the cinema multiple times. I was going to see it again tonight, but I was like, I need to record this. I might go and see it tomorrow. I've already messaged my dad and said, I want this on Blu-ray for Christmas, please. I saw on Baz's Instagram that they've released the CD. Don't worry, I've already listened to the soundtrack on Spotify, like on repeat. I'm not kidding. Like all today I've been listening to it. Like as soon as a track comes on, I now know who sings it, what it's called, the part of the movie it's in. Oh... I don't know what drugs are in this film, but they are in my bloodstream. They are flowing through it, and I'm so excited to talk about Elvis. Yeah, what a way to kick off this podcast. Two of my favourite films. It's crazy, actually. Someone said to me the other day, what is your favourite film? And I was like, well, obviously it's The Muppets. But for a second, I was like, damn, is it Elvis now? Like, oh my gosh. If you know me, you know that even if I adore something, The Muppets, for example, I don't like watching things on repeat over and over again. If I want to watch something again, I like to wait at least a few months. So I've kind of forgotten elements because, I don't know, it just makes it fun again to watch it, I feel. Watching something over and over again, I feel it can get slightly boring or you expect what's coming. But for some reason, as soon as Elvis finished the first time I saw it, I was like, I have to see this again right this second. And I'm a big advocate for 90-minute films. But this being 2 hours, 40 minutes, I did not care. I would have sat for another 2 hours, 40 minutes and another. I would have sat there for the rest of my day if they'd have played that film. I don't know what happened. I don't know what it was. But for some reason, I've been completely charmed, flabbergasted, mind blown, absorbed by this film. And yeah, I was like, I have to talk about this on the podcast. So I have to like get it started and doing it because I've got to get it out whilst it's still in cinemas. So if you're listening and you haven't seen it, or you're just like, you know what, I'm going to see it again, you can. So if you don't know, or you want to recap, or, you know, just for starting this, kind of basic logline, it's a biopic of Elvis Presley, and we see his life from kind of birth, start of his career really, up until his death, sadly. Sorry, spoilers, but also a bit of common knowledge there. And instead of showing it through Elvis's eyes, we see it through the eyes of his manager, Colonel Tom Parker, who is played by Tom Hanks, with Elvis played by Austin Butler. First off, I want to talk about these performances. Oh my God. Austin Butler is Elvis. He was Elvis. He became Elvis. I was seeing Elvis on screen and perform. And actually, a few of the tracks that you think it's Elvis singing, they got Austin to re-record them because, oh my God, I've done my research on this film now. Some of the original demos and stuff, the sound wasn't that great, or they wanted to do some remixes. So a lot of the songs, if you see on Spotify, it's Austin Butler singing. Like, he truly, truly became the King of Rock. And I still can't believe it. And then Tom Hanks plays this, I was going to say sleazy. I feel sleazy is such a strong word. He's just this very clever showman, or as Colonel Tom Parker would call it, a snowman. This kind of carnival trickster who will con people out of their money but leave them thinking they've had the best show of their life. And I've actually just realised that I've said that out loud. That basically, Baz Luhrmann, like, take all of my money for me to be able to see this in the cinema multiple times. I've been snowed. Oh my gosh. But it's really interesting to see this on screen, I guess, with a lot of the biopics we've been seeing recently, and I'm a big biopic gal. We see them from the band that they're talking about, or specifically the person. Whereas this, we do see it through Elvis's eyes, but we see it through the Colonel's eyes and what the Colonel manipulated Elvis to do. And I just think it was really clever and interesting. And I know that a lot of people, whether don't like the character or just found it a bit odd that instead of focusing mainly on Elvis, they focused on this guy instead. But I was actually that it's really clever to do that because it was real. And if you were around when Elvis was out, you might not have realised that Tom Parker was doing all of this. So actually to see it and be like, oh my gosh, he really was a puppet on a string. Like, he was behind everything. It's so mind-blowing to think that. And I feel that's something that we've kind of had in other biopics. I guess in stuff like Rocketman, Bohemian Rhapsody, we've had someone who's wanted to help, but actually has hindered and used them for money and fame. And to see that in a more in-depth, detailed viewing, I thought that was so clever. I am going to get slightly spoilery, I think, because I just really want to talk about this. So if you haven't seen it, I'd recommend stopping now. You kind of know the vibe. It's Elvis and his manager. If you go and watch it, feel free to come back and listen, or actually feel free to listen to the whole thing, or you know what, you might have already seen it, you do not care. It's up to you. But this is my party, so we're doing whatever I want to do. But that's just my recommendation. So yes, we begin. We are thrown into this world of Vegas. There's incredible lights, heightened music, score. Everything is happening. You are thrown in, and we are literally rocking all around. Like, my arms are flailing all over the place. Like we're on a roller coaster through Vegas. It feels like this mythical, magical land that doesn't exist, but it does, and it's crazy how much Elvis has inspired that. Things like weddings and pink Cadillacs and stuff. Like, a lot of Elvis's life is now just kind of style and what we expect when we go to these sorts of places. So that's just insane. But yeah, we begin with the Colonel taking a tumble and being taken into hospital, and he's on morphine and drugs, and suddenly we see Tom Hanks in this insane makeup of him just so old and bedraggled and ill. And the Colonel is on drugs and starts to tell this story. And I think that's a really clever way to kind of bookmark it, where we have the beginning of, you know what, we're going to take you on this crazy ride, and it's going to be crazy. Sorry, my mind was just like, what the... It is, like, we go on this morphine, fiend, words, we kickstart on this journey, and kind of when you start it, it's a bit like, oh, okay, he's kind of high, he's over-exaggerating everything, but actually he's not. Like, that was real life. And I know that Baz Luhrmann has slightly twisted the truth and things were slightly different, etc. But at the same time, that's when Elvis was born. That's what happened to his twin brother. This is when he first started discovering music. This is when he released his first songs. So actually, even though we see it on this roller coaster of a journey, this what feels like a drug-infused journey of insaneness and mayhem was real. And to think that was someone's life is crazy scary. One of my favourite parts of the film is when we've met the beautiful Priscilla, and her and Elvis have been married, and the Colonel says how he basically made their life a Hollywood movie. And the way we see it in the film, like the filters and the style and the edit, it's so cool. But it is, the whole film feels like a fictional film, so it's hard to believe it was someone's life, and I just adore it. And the way it was told, I really loved. And talking about the visuals on screen, I loved the mix between kind of video camera footage, really beautiful. We had close-ups, these kind of zooms in and out, just kind of following whatever was being said, or all of that. There was just something so powerful about the visuals. But one of my favorite elements of the storytelling was the soundtrack. So like I said, I've been listening to it on repeat, and there's just something about it. That kind of first intro for Suspicious Minds, I don't know, every time I play it, I have shivers. I can't even explain. There's just something so powerful about, and haunting, I guess heavenly, but haunting about it. When Elvis is screaming out these words and it's like echoed, and then bam, we're into this crazy story with rap and all these influences. And I think that's such an amazing way to show how Elvis was influenced by black culture, black music, to have that on the remixes of today's soundtrack. And I think that was so interesting as well. If you listen to the song The King and I by Eminem, I told you, I know what I'm talking about now. Again, he references how he feels similar to Elvis in his upbringing. Again, someone white taking influence from black music and culture. And I think that's just a really powerful song. And to see that in the story is really cool. That all these elements Baz hasn't just ignored or been like, oh, you know what, it doesn't really matter. Like, no, every element has been thought about so much. And I think one of my favourite moments is when we first kind of see Elvis in his everyday and he's on Beale Street and really loving it. Everything's very chill and he's just walking around. He's like a van driver. He's got his guitar behind his neck. Like, it's so cool. And my favourite scene is the complete juxtaposition of that, is when he's suddenly really big and got his music out and he's just enough out with his family and he's driven to Beale Street. It's dark, it's late. He gets out his car, kind of slow-mo, the rap begins and we're building. And suddenly he's not invisible on Beale Street anymore. Everyone wants his autograph. Everyone wants a piece of him. And again, that kind of rap mixed with the slow motion, mixed with the zooms. There's just something about it where, again, it feels not real, but obviously that's must been how it felt to be surrounded by that and trapped like that. It's just insane. But the music in this is fantastic. And I think, like I said, having such a good influence and mixture of things to represent what Elvis was inspired by when he was making his music was so clever. Yeah. Oh my gosh. The music in this, that I can't even say anything else. I just think Baz Luhrmann's vision, like the first time I saw this, I was like, I need to watch it straight again right away. But it wasn't showing at the cinema at the time that evening, so I was like, I'll just watch something else from Baz Luhrmann. So I watched his Romeo and Juliet, and again, there's just something about his vision that's so beautiful, and I think he was the most perfect person to bring Elvis to life. There was something about this, like I was saying, the fact that even now, like, we have Elvis conventions. If you see an outfit like what he wore, like, you know it's him. Katy Perry, one of my favourite singers, that if you listen to this podcast and listen to me, you'll get to know. She's currently doing a Vegas residency, and in her promo art, she's wearing like the Elvis suit. And straight away, you're like, that's Elvis, like that is Vegas. And to be that important and monumental, it's so sad in the film when he's in the car with Priscilla after they, I was going to say pass over Lisa Marie, which they do, but that sounds like a really sad and horrible way to do it, but you know what I mean. And he's like, I've not done anything. People aren't going to remember me. Like, are you insane? By that point, he'd done so much. And to think that was heartbreaking. So to know that he's gone on and is the biggest selling solo artist of all time. And he's beaten records that no one can physically beat. The fact that he live streamed to 1.6 billion people on TV, that's not going to happen again. There's too many shows, channels, there's other artists. Like, no one will ever be that big. It's crazy to think that he thought that, and I think this vision that Baz had of completely going insane and showing this life of the circus, the lights, the brightness, the Elvis, the pelvis, the movement, everything we see, and thinking about it now, again, my heart's just like, I need to go and see this right now. And there's actually a showing, oh no, I was going to say it starts at 9 p.m. tonight. It's now just turned 1:09, so I'm not going to be able to get to the cinema in time, but maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after as well. Oh my God, I could talk about this forever. But I feel those are my top notes, and I'm really happy with what I've said. And for my party, that is just the atmosphere that I would want. So I'm glad that I've brought it to Me Party today. Yeah, the soundtrack, the just representation of pure hysteria was incredible. Yeah, that's how I feel about the film. How those girls felt about Elvis in the first scene when he sings, that's how I feel about this film. Insane. I know people have their issues with Elvis the man, as in he was 24, Priscilla was 14, all these vibes. There's obviously a lot of conspiracy, there's a lot of real, but I just know that when I say I love Elvis, I'm meaning this film. There's something about it, and that's all I've got to say. Oh my gosh, I could talk about it forever. Right, I'm going to go and book tomorrow's ticket to go and see it again. Whilst I'm doing that, I'm going to put on the soundtrack and continue singing it, and just living my best life, and then waiting for it to be released when it's no longer in cinema, because that will be a mourning period. I'll have to go cold turkey on Elvis. I don't know how I'll cope. I guess I'll watch the Muppets. Thank you so much for joining me for my first party. It's been so lovely to just talk about a film that I've really loved. And I hope that if you enjoyed it too, you enjoyed it. If you didn't, maybe it's been cool to hear the thoughts of someone that did. If you weren't sure, again, I'd be really intrigued to hear your thoughts. So if you want to join the party, I'm on Instagram at anna.create, and I'll be back with another party. I don't know, who knows? I've not really got an idea of when I'll be releasing these. I guess when I see something and want to talk about it, that's when I release it. But yeah, it's been so fun talking about Elvis, so fun talking about the Muppets, and I cannot wait to have a Me Party sometime soon. So thank you for listening, and I'll be in your ears soon. Bye!